Hello, I'm Jennifer. I'm glad you're here. So today I'm sharing with you how to add something extra special to your cards, and that is a light up feature. Now, you may not think this is something for you, or you may think it's hard to do. I hope you'll watch because you'll see how easy it is, and it's just really, really fun. I have 4 different card examples for you today. On each of them, there's a little spot that you press, and it makes the card light up. I have lots of ideas for holiday cards today, but keep in mind you could do the light up feature with cards for other occasions, such as candles on a birthday cake or fireworks in the sky. I'm hoping after you see these 4 cards made, you'll see how easy it is, and it'll encourage you to also try something new too. Now, I bought some lights from Pearblossom a long time ago, and I just hadn't used them yet, and I'm excited to finally use them, and I wish I hadn't waited. Now, Pearblossom has 3 different light types. The first one is the one light. I think this is the newest one. There's a button, and when you push it, one light turns on. The little safety thing is on the battery, so it won't light up in the package. You'll see it light up later. I will use this one on my first card. They also have the easy lights, which are my favorite. In this pack, there are 5. They have different pack amounts you can try. And in these, it has 3 little lights that light up wherever you want. Then there are the halo lights. This creates a ring of lights. I think there's 3 in that ring, or maybe 4. I don't use this one today, but do know that option is available and great for wreaths or to light up a window. So first we'll do the one light, then we'll do 3 examples with the easy lights, which again are my favorite. Now these come with the batteries, so everything you need to light up your card. Now for the easy lights, this is the pack of 5. The batteries come separate, and all you have to do is pop the battery into the lighting unit. I guess that's what it's called. And then when you press this little button, the 3 lights at the end of the wires light up. So you can position those 3 lights anywhere you want on your card. And you'll see a few examples of that today. Now, as I said, I like these easy lights the best because these 3 lights can be positioned anywhere. But I'm starting with the one light first because there are no wires, so it's fast to add, and I think it's a good place to start. This is the first card, and the flame on the candle lights up when you push the spot that says press here. When I saw this lamppost and candle, I knew it would work great for this technique. Let's start with the background first. I'm using the Memory Box Pinpoint Burst die, one of my favorites that I use a lot, and I die cut that from white cardstock. So it is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches with a pierced pattern. I'm also using Simon Says Stamp saturated inks to color this background. Now, these are great inks for blending. I'm really liking them, but you could use whatever inks you want. In this case, I wanted to add blue to the background, but have a white soft area right where the flame will be, just to kind of intensify the lighting effect that we're adding. I'm using an Altenew blending brush. This is the big one. I like using this big size brush when creating a background. So I'm first putting down the lightest blue, putting it heavier towards the edge, and then I will add a little bit more of the darker blue just to the corners and bottom, just to really intensify the look of that light in the center. And by the way, Simon Says Stamp just came out with a bunch of new colors of this ink, and I have the Ink Swatch download template for free over in the download section on my website. Okay, now for what we're adding to the front of this panel. I'm using the Memory Box Old Lamppost die set and the Memory Box Melted Candle die set. I think that lamppost could be even used in the summer if you put maybe a soft floral wreath on it, and the candles can also be used for birthday candles. Well, I cut 2 of this main section of the lamppost from black cardstock. And in between those, I'm gluing a piece of acetate. You don't have to do this, but I thought it would make it look like glass there, and it was an easy step to do. This is just some acetate that I saved from a piece of packaging. I really like to recycle packaging in this way on my cards. I did also cut the other parts of the lamppost from black cardstock, and I have those ready to go. For the candle, I used red cardstock, and you can see there are 2 candles that are cut along with the melted wax on the top. I'm using the smaller of the 2 candles, but that bigger one, again, would be great for a birthday candle card. You could do 3 birthday candles along the front of a card and have the lights line up with those flames. Okay, so now I'm gluing the parts of the lamppost onto our background. I did trim this background down a little bit, so it's a bit less than 4¼ by 5½ inches. I am cutting the bottom of the candle shorter so that the flame ends up right at the center of that burst pattern that we have in the background. It's not important to do this, but I felt like it added to intensifying that light once again. So I'm adding the candle here, and then it's time to create a little hole where the flame is. I cut the flame off the die cut so that I could instead create a hole for the light to shine through. Now I am just using a craft knife to create a teardrop shape here. If you want to, you could instead just pierce a hole here and use the flame die cut with it too. It really doesn't have to be a big opening like this, but I felt like it really helped with this card design to have this teardrop shape. I thought it'd also be good to have a little yellow glow around that opening. So I'm using my Altenew detailed blending brushes. These have a small tip and some light yellow ink from Altenew. And I'm just kind of circling that opening to give it a yellow glow. Next, we need a piece of white cardstock that is cut to the same size as our background. I'm holding it right behind it, and then I will trace in the flame opening with a pencil. This will help us get the positioning of the light just right. Now we want to stamp press here on the front of our card. I have my light ready and I'm going to use it to help me get the positioning just right. This is the one light, so there are no wires to it. I'll remove the tape from the back. If there's no tape on the back, just add any type of double-sided tape that is strong. I just added another piece here just to be sure. To make the one light work, all you have to do is remove that little piece of white paper that's there for protection and when mailing. And then when you push the button, the little light on the side will light up. And that's it. You just add this to the inside of your card. So I am positioning this so that the light is right where that pencil dot is. So you see the light is that little yellow spot right there. I'm putting that right over the pencil dot and pressing this down. So now my light is positioned on the white cardstock piece so that when I put the blue piece on top, it lights the flame up. Now we need to position the press here stamp right where the button is. So I'm actually laying the press stamp right on top of the button. You'll see me kind of fidget here once I get it lined up there. I'll close the door on my MISTI and I'll know that when I stamp in this spot, it'll press the button. So now I'll remove this piece, put in the blue inked background, and stamp press right there. Now when I stamp a small word like this, I like to stamp it lightly a few times so I can be sure to get a good image. And then we come in with the word here and put that right up against the press image and stamp that also. Now when we put this piece over our white background with the light, we know exactly where to press it so the light turns on. I also like to add vellum behind the opening so that it softens the light and gives it a little color. So I colored a piece of vellum with some Copic marker, any kind of permanent ink would work, and then I place that between the light and the opening. So I'll just tape this little scrap to the back of our panel and no one will ever know it's there. You could skip this step if you want to, but I do feel it really helps with the result. And in this case, it gives our light a very warm glow, which is great for the candle. Now we need to put these two pieces together. But remember, there is that battery pack with the button. And we don't want to seal this up too tight because we don't want the button to be pushed down all the time. So what I like to use is thick foam tape. And I surround the light element with the foam tape. If you don't have a thick foam tape, you can just double up regular foam tape. What I personally would do if I was creating this outside of a video is I would cut up scraps of cardstock and build up layers in here. That will just hold up nicely, and it's a great way to use up some scraps that you wouldn't normally use. But I wanted to show foam tape because this is what most people like to do. So I'm just building the foam tape up around the battery pack. Now this will protect the battery, keep the button from being pushed, and it'll all come together nicely. This foam tape really is nice because it's thick and you only have to do one layer, so it's pretty quick to do. After removing the release paper from all the tape, I can take the blue panel and put it right onto the foam tape. And always I check it to make sure it's working, and it is working great. Now we can add this onto our 4¼ by 5½ inch note card, and all that's left is to add some embellishments. I thought it'd be fun to do a kind of cluster of holiday leaves around the lamppost. So I'm using the Memory Box Pine Needle Trio dies. And I'm also using this holly branch die, which I think is really fun. You can add little circle die cuts or gems to those spots for the berries. For a sentiment, I'm using the Memory Box Joy Posh script dies. But look at the leaves that you have. I bet you've got something that might work to decorate this lamppost. So I die cut the pine pieces from green and the holly piece, and I added dark brown marker to the center of the pine and then dark green to the stem of these leaves, just to give the look of dimension. I then glued these pieces right to the base of our lamppost. Now for the sentiment, I cut the shadow of the word joy from white cardstock and the word joy itself from gold mirror cardstock. And then we'll glue that right to the base of the lamppost. Now this lamppost does come with like a cross piece, but I decided to skip that since I was adding these other embellishments instead. Finally, I finished it off with a few little red gemstones, and I thought it'd be fun to add a little sparkle to our lamppost. So I die cut some of the pieces from black glitter cardstock and cut them into smaller little pieces, and I'm gluing that on top of our regular black cardstock. This just adds a finishing touch and a bit of sparkle. So here's a look at the completed card. All you have to do is push that little spot and the card lights up. I think this is such a fun way to create an interactive card. Now there is dimension to this card, so I would mail this in a bubble mailer or hand it to the recipient. You could even just include it in a gift with the box so you can be sure it's protected. If you're just going to mail it, I will show you a way to protect the battery so it doesn't get pressed when shipping in one of the cards later in this video. So here you can see how easy it is to add the one light. And there I turned the lights down so you could better see the light. In person, in real life, the light up feature seems brighter than it does in the video. So it's just something that's hard to capture on film. Okay, my next example is a light up card that's an Easel snow globe. Now, I really like these Easel die sets from Poppy Stamps. I've used these type of die sets in the past in another video, and I'll link to that up here in the top right. And I was really excited about this cabin snow globe design. It has everything you need to create this fun scenic card, very special, and we're going to add lights to it. To save some time, I did lots of die cutting off screen so that I have it ready to assemble here. I did use some glitter cardstock. This is the Memory Box Majestic Hues glitter paper pad. I highly recommend this. The glitter doesn't rub off, it die cuts beautifully, and it has all the basic glitter papers you might want. There's gold, black, navy, silver, champagne, soft gold, white, lots of the basics, and I reach for this a lot. I used the black on the first card. So I just assembled the pieces that come in the die set. Here I have the little house that I'm assembling. It's very easy to do, and I was able to use up scraps to die cut all the pieces. I did die cut the snowbanks and the roof of the house from white glitter paper so it looked like snow. I die cut the circle from light blue cardstock and added some ink to it as I did on my first card example, just towards the top so it would look like a night sky. So now I'm just gluing these pieces onto the front of the circle and starting to plan where we want the light up feature. I'd like the lights of the windows of the cabin to light up, so I'm picking a spot where I want that to be, and I'll use my pencil to trace into those little open windows. Now in this case, I am going to cut an opening here, and it doesn't matter what that opening looks like because it'll be hidden behind the little house. So before I kind of cut a flame opening, here it doesn't matter what it looks like. So I'm just using my scissors to kind of cut a little rectangle that covers these three little dots I created. You could also use a craft knife or a little die to do this if you prefer. Next, we need the piece that will go behind this, where we will glue our lights, and that is this white snow globe shape. This die comes in the set. First, I want to make sure I have this brown piece that goes towards the bottom. That's where I'm going to hide my little battery pack and do the press here. So I'm cutting away some of the dimension at the bottom of that circle, so there's room for the battery pack hidden behind that brown. I'm gluing the brown piece right up against that snow ledge so that I can put the battery pack there on the bottom. So really, this is all about finding a spot to hide your battery pack. And the first one, it was just a large panel, right? So it was easy. I could put it anywhere. In this case, I have a lot going on, so I wanted to find the perfect spot and a place to put the press here, and I wanted that to be on the base of the snow globe. So I off-screen stamped press here right in the bottom left, and I did that with a white ink, so it's very soft. I'm now putting a little mark right behind that on the white piece, so I know where to put the button. I'm also tracing through the opening onto that white piece, those 3 windows. So now we know where the battery pack button should be and where the 3 lights should be. Tracing those spots is very helpful. Now with these easy lights, there are 3 wires with 3 lights on the end. You don't have to do anything with them. They're ready to go. When you put the battery in it, they're ready to go. I am just taping so that the 3 lights end up right on top of those pencil dots that we did. I'm using Easy C tape here so you can see it. It's blue, but you could definitely use Scotch tape for this, and I recommend that since it's clear. I have my 3 lights positioned over the 3 dots. And I have the button positioned down there. It's right next to the battery pack on the same piece. So let's test it. I'll press here and see if my lights light up right in the window of the cabin. And it works. Now all we have to do is kind of curl up the wire, doesn't matter how, and tape it down. No one will ever see the inside, so it doesn't matter. Now we can glue all these pieces together. We need dimension to protect the button. So up at the top, I just decided to cut additional white cardstock circles and cut away the opening there. This will add dimension to the top of our snow globe. Now looking back, I could have just done 1 thickness of foam for this part, and that would have saved time. But this is what came to my mind at the time. So I'm just building up some dimension towards the top of the snow globe using cardstock. Now for the base of the snow globe, I'll do a thicker layer. You could use the thick foam tape, you could use double up foam tape, or you could use clear foam tape. I love this clear foam tape from Rabbit Hole Designs because you don't really see it from the side. This is nice and thick, so it works great around the battery pack. So I just built up some pieces of this around the battery pack. It doesn't look pretty, it doesn't matter. But when you add our snow globe piece to the front, it looks nice. So it doesn't matter what it looks like back there, it will still look good when you glue everything together. Now here I have colored a piece of vellum with yellow as I did on the first card, and I'm gluing this little piece to the back of our cabin so that it covers the windows. That way our lights will be protected under there and it'll give it a bit of a yellow glow. Then we can glue our little cabin right over that opening. Now the rest is easy, all we have to do is embellish. I die cut the trees, the holly leaves, the berries, everything from the same die set and assembled them around our little cabin and towards the bottom of the base of the snow globe. For the sentiment, I used the Memory Box Joy and Cheer die set. I love this die set. Look how beautiful that sentiment is. Now, what I decided to do was cut out the word joy so I could use that alone. I love changing up larger sentiments to be smaller so I can get more from it. This Joy and Cheer is probably what I will use on my Christmas cards that I'll be sending out. So there I used gold cardstock for joy, and now I'm using white cardstock for the shadow, and that will be the sentiment on the front of our card. I also thought it'd be fun to create a little detailed bow, intricate bow to add to this. I am loving this die set from Waffle Flower, the Twine and Bows die set. You can see it over there on the right. It has different tiny bows, and that long die cuts 3 really thin strips of cardstock, which is really handy for a lot of cases. But today I'm just using this little bow die. I'll use it again later in this video. Finally, I added some white gel pen snow to the sky. Now you could do snow in many different ways, but I love the control of using a white gel pen. Okay, now for the base. I cut this from white cardstock from the die set, and there is a score line at this side of it, but I like to reinforce the score line with my scoreboard and my bone folder. And now I'll just fold this little flap, and I like to fold it back and forth so that it has a nice crease to it. So what I'll do is just lay this flat. So we're going to unfold that, lay it flat, and put strong adhesive on the little flap. Then we will lay our snow globe right on top. This adds an easel function to our card. I also like to add a little sentiment on the inside that will allow you to prop up the easel portion. For this, I'm using the My Favorite Things Season's Greetings set. This has a nice classic feel to it that I thought would be fun with this card. So I white heat embossed Season's Greetings onto a piece of red cardstock, and I'm gluing that right to the inside, which will help again prop up the Snowglobe easel card. So here's the completed card. It fits into a regular A2 envelope, no problem. You just press the little spot that says press here and the lights of the cabin open. And it's an easel card, so it props up nice to be on display. This one would be fun to also make into a shaker card, but I just felt like those cabin windows were calling for the light up feature. Now again, the video doesn't capture the light well, so I thought I'd just turn down the light so you can better see it, but it really does show up well in real life. Okay, now it's time for our next example. In this case, I kind of created a beam of light using the same easy lights. I thought this would work great for a nativity scene. For most of the card, I'm using the Memory Box Nativity House Frame Die Set. That's the one on the left. It really has everything you need, but I'm also using this middle one, the Nativity Frame background, for the solid house shape. I also thought I'd show you, this is the Gingerbread house frame die. I'm not using this today, but this gingerbread house is super cute and would be really fun to assemble. Now these dies are really meant to create three-dimensional looks, and I'll link to a video that shows a similar technique. But what I did is I cut the basic shape of the nativity from white cardstock. And I'm drawing 2 pencil lines so that I have kind of a ray of light coming from the top. There are many ways to do this, but I just used my T-ruler and I kind of eyeballed it. Now I'm cutting along those pencil lines, so we have this beam of light cut from the back of the nativity. By cutting this piece, I am kind of able to direct where the light shines, so it shines down. Now I used some cardstock scraps to cut the other pieces of the nativity. Here I have some craft paper for the outside of the frame, and I'm gluing that onto a piece of vellum. This again will help soften the light. Then I'm gluing the white piece to the back of this. So now we have this softened opening, and the light will be blocked to only show through that beam area. Just stick with me, it'll make sense in a moment. Now I'm just adding the other pieces for the scene. I used gold glitter cardstock for the star at the top and black glitter cardstock for Mary, baby Jesus, and Joseph. I also assembled the little trees that I'll add to the side later on. Now for a sentiment, I'm using the Simon Says Stamp CZ Design Piece die set. I cut the word piece from gold glitter cardstock and the shadow from white, and I thought that would look nice there right at the bottom of the scene. This will give us some space on the bottom to stamp the press here. Next, I have a piece of blue cardstock that is a little bit smaller than 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I'm cutting the opening of that house right from the top center of that. You could do this step in different ways. This just seemed the easiest to me as I was creating. I then used that same Pinpoint burst die to add the piercing detail to this cut piece. This will be the background of our card. I do feel these pierced detail dies are great for adding just simple interest to backgrounds. Now off screen, I did stamp press here towards the bottom of the card, bottom right hand corner, with light blue ink. Our button will go right behind that. With the easy lights, with the wire, you can place your battery pack anywhere you want. Okay, so I did tape this from behind into place so that the nativity will stay right there in the center opening. I have my battery pack for the Easy See Light, and this time I'm taping it onto the back of this panel. You could do it any way you want. There's the little button right there, and I'm going to position that right where press here is and tape it to the back of this panel. So on our first 2 cards, I did it a little bit different. Really, you can assemble these however you want. Now I'm taking these 3 wires and just twisting them so the 3 lights stay together. That'll make it nice and bright. I'm taping this so those 3 lights are right at the top of that beam opening, and I'll tape it there. This time I'm using double-sided tape, but you could use whatever tape you want. So the 3 little lights are clustered together right behind that star. And because we have the white cardstock kind of blocking the light into that beam shape, our light kind of shines down onto baby Jesus. Now we can just take our wires and kind of twist them up and tape them so that nobody will see them. Now it's time to add foam tape. I'm first putting 2 pieces of foam tape right along that beam, so right along the 2 sides. This will help direct that light down onto baby Jesus. So I'm just lining those up. You won't see those from the front. Then I will continue to add more foam tape around that and around the little battery pack. So I just use little bits and pieces, making sure that I fill that area as much as possible. After removing the release paper, I can add this to a top folding 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch white note card. I finished off the card by adding the little trees to the side of the Nativity. And there you can see when you press the button, you have the light that looks like it's shining down from the star. Now for this, I didn't add any other embellishments. We have the light and the glitter paper, which really just add a lot of interest to this card design. So this shows that you can kind of direct the light and light up an area by having cardstock blocking it into that beam shape. For my last example, I show how to create little light up berries behind a scene and also how to protect your card so the battery doesn't run out by the button being pushed when mailing. So I'm starting with a piece of blue cardstock that I cut with the stitched snowflake backdrop from Lawn Fawn. I've used this one a few times in videos. I did cut that piece to be a little bit smaller than 5 1/4 by 4 1/4. Now the reason I made this a little bit shorter is we need room for the tab to stick out. You'll see a tab later. So this card is just a 1/4 inch narrow from what I normally do. Now I added to it a Merry Christmas layered die cut. I love that die. Right towards the bottom. And then I have this Serene bird, which I've used before also, that I cut from white cardstock. I have some other little holly pieces and pine pieces that I've shown you earlier in this video, and I'm just kind of creating a cluster to go behind the bird. So you can do any kind of stamping and die cut assembly on the front panel, and then add your lights afterwards. So this time, I'm kind of creating the card, then deciding where the lights will go. Whereas in my first cards, it was kind of the opposite. I'm using a paper piercer just to pierce 3 little holes around our bird. Then I have that little file tool that just makes the openings a little bit bigger, but you could really just use the piercing tool to create the hole and kind of wiggle it around to make the opening bigger. They don't need to be that big at all. So this is just showing that you can add these little light spots as an afterthought when you've created your scene. Okay, so now it's time to create the lights. I am holding this over a white note card and tracing through the holes with a pencil. And I'm also tracing a spot where the press here will be. So now we know where our button and our lights need to be. By the way, this card is 5 1/4 by 4 1/4 inches tall. Again, it's a little narrow. So I'm putting tape on the back of the battery pack, and I'll position this so the button is right on top of that little pencil dot. So see the buttons lining up right there on top of the pencil. And by the way, with this design, I could have stamped press here pretty much anywhere. I just thought it worked great right there up at the top left. Now I wanted to show you how to create the pull tab that will protect your battery. So I cut a piece of white cardstock that's about a 1/2 inch wide and stamped pull on one end. What happens is you tuck this into the battery pack and it keeps the connection from happening, so the lights won't turn on until you remove this. So I'm holding the pull tab so it's sticking out a little bit on the left. Then I'm putting a little pencil mark here over on the right so I know where to cut it off and how long to make this pull tab. Now I just tuck this in to the battery opening. Make sure it's working, so I'll press the button. Now see the lights don't work because this tab is here. But when the person pulls out the pull tab, the lights will work. So this is an option you can add to any of the card designs. Now I'm keeping the tab out for now so we can get our lights positioned. This time I'm using Scotch tape because I feel it works really well for this. Watch this. I'm lining up the lights with the dots and I'm just putting the tape right on top of the light. This seems to hold it in place and the light shines through it fine. It kind of protects the light a little bit and softens it a tad. But putting the Scotch tape right on top of the lights worked great for me. So I'm lining up the 3 lights with the 3 dots and holding them in place with the tape. I then tape down the wire so it's hidden behind our panel that we're about to add. I'll just use Scotch tape for this also, and then it's time to build up the foam tape. So I'm putting foam tape all around the batteries and lights. I am not putting foam tape on top of the lights, of course, and I'm not putting foam tape to the left of the battery pack because we want to be able to add in that pull tab. So you want to be sure to not put any there. So last but not least, I'm putting the tab into the battery pack. I'm testing it, making sure that it's positioned so that when you press the button, the lights do not turn on. We don't want them to turn on at this point. I then can remove the release paper and then add our panel into place. So the lights are not going to turn on until that pull tab is removed. This is a great way to make sure the button isn't pressed when in mailing so that it doesn't run out by the time the recipient gets it. Finally, I'm finishing off by adding some little gold bows and some gold gemstones. So here is the completed card with the pull tab in place. I did make my card a little narrow so that the pull tab had room to fit inside the regular envelope. When the recipient gets it, they can take out the pull tab and now the lights will work. I'm hoping this video shows how easy it can be to add lights to your cards, and it's nice that you don't have to be an engineer to make it happen. Everything comes ready to go, you just have to add it into your card. Now I will link below to the supplies that I used, and I'll link below to the lights. I just wanted to say the owner of Pearblossom, who came up with these lights, she is incredible. She's super sweet and very encouraging and supportive of others in the industry, and I think that speaks volumes. In fact, at the end here, I will link to a playlist that she's put together of other light up card ideas. And I'll also link to a video showing more easel card ideas. I thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you have a wonderful week and we'll see you again soon with more ideas.